So the depth of his dislike for the president is pretty clear there. I mean, is that something that a vice president should be doing about two former presidents? George Bush has stayed quietly above the fray. And should he be doing the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know if he's above it or below it or wherever. He's out of sight, though, and I think that that's a classy move. I think that the Republicans have plenty of operatives who could be doing this. I don't think you need a former vice president, particularly the previous vice president, to be constantly on the attack, constantly nudging the current administration. There's something about it to me that seems rather unseemly. I don't think that he must get something out of it. He must enjoy it on some level. He gets a lot of blowback from it, but he continues to do it anyway with his daughter. So he must enjoy it, but I don't think it necessarily helps the debate, and I don't think it helps the Republicans at all.
Okay, Ben, that leads me perfectly. Hang on into you'll get your chance into the next soundbite that I want you to listen to. Dick Cheney explaining why he's becoming more vocal on political issues. Here it is.
I'm 73 years old. Every day I get up is a gift. I was an end-stage heart failure 2 years ago. Got a new heart. That does wonders for your attitude, but from my perspective, I feel very strongly that these things need to be said, and if I don't say them, I don't know who else will on the standpoint of the Republican Party or somebody who has my background and experience over the last 40 years.
Ben, is there something to saying, you know what, you had your chance for 8 years or however long you were in politics, you're retired, you're out of it now, have a seat?
Two perks of being Dick Cheney. One, you were not the president, you were the vice president, so you actually get to come out and still talk. I think that's one of the perks. The other thing is this. I love how we always wish that politicians would give blunt answers and not PC answers and actually answer the question that they're asked about. We always complain about people that, run around something or don't want to give their opinion. He's giving his opinion. He's being blunt. He's answering the actual questions, and then we still want to criticize him for it. I like it. I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think he's being bold and blunt. He's being consistent with his career, and he's the Vice President of the United States of America. He's saying, look, I almost died. This is what I've done with my life. You want to talk to me about it? I'm not going to dodge a question, and you may not like what he says, but I like the fact that he's willing to be man enough to actually do it and say it and stand by his convictions. I think it should be applauded.
Hey, Jason, listen, people want to hear Bill Clinton all the time. He speaks out all the time. But what are Republicans, how do they feel behind the scenes about Dick Cheney speaking out?
Well, I sit around wondering what happened to the Dick Cheney wing of the GOP, and I think we have a president who sort of said, I want a light footprint, I want to withdraw from the world, and we see the result of that when you try, as the leader of the free world, not to lead or to lead from behind. I think it leads to very bad outcomes. We're seeing that play out, and there are people in the GOP who sort of want to shoot spitballs at the president, but no one is coming up with an alternative other than a few people. So you still have your Lindsey Grahams, you still have your John McCains, but a lot of the GOP, I think, has been a little bit cowed, and I wish that the Cheney wing of the GOP would make a resurgence. I think the world could use it right now.
Well, that's a damning statement about the GOP, and it came up in Cheney's comments himself. He said that if I don't say it at my age, then nobody will. If there's no one in the entire Republican Party who could be making the case, who is actively engaged in Republican politics now, an actual elected official who is a Republican who could say what Dick Cheney is saying, who is part of the process, has some skin in the game right now, then that's a sad statement about the Republican Party.
Thank you, guys.